Happy Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome back to Miller Momentum. Today, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about AI and specifically generative artificial intelligence. In view of other creators like Hank Green going down in smoke over the use of I want to be clear about how AI is actually used here at Miller Momentum and how it will be used going forward. But first, the usual disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. The content in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Statements made are my opinions. Investing involves risk. Always do your own research. So, one thing that many of you, especially those of you who may be familiar with data science or work in data science, have probably noticed is that AI kind of sucks. Um, Machine learning algorithms, they have their place, but I think in modern times they are very much overused, and the world of finances is no exception to this. So I've got lined up here in Testfolio or testful.io rather the Craft AI-Enhanced U.S. Large Cap Momentum ETF and the Invesco S&P 500 Momentum ETF and the WisdomTree AI-Enhanced Value Fund, as well as the Vanguard Morningstar Value ETF, just to prove a point here. And as you can see from this little chart here, the Invesco S&P 500 Momentum ETF, which is a very simple model, very simple momentum signal, just an index fund, crushes the AI enhanced US large cap momentum fund. And the Vanguard Morningstar Value Fund, which is just basically based on price to book value, crushes WisdomTree's AI enhanced value thing. And oftentimes it just feels like AI gives us the same stuff that we could do ourselves, but a more crappy version of it. And those of you who are familiar with Makridakis' competition series, where he and a bunch of other researchers proved that simple forecasting models just blow more complicated approaches to trying to predict the future out of the water, well, this underperformance of AI models won't be surprising to you all. And to put it in a nutshell, what Makridakis' work has shown is that we as humans tend to um, put too much emphasis on certainty. We fool ourselves that into thinking that a model that really accurately describes the past will somehow uh, describe the future. And that's called overfitting, by the way. But we like to convince ourselves that our cleverness is more useful than it actually is, and that there's more certainty in the world than actually exists. Any hoodles, enough waxing philosophical. Let's talk about generative AI and what it means for Miller Momentum and how it's used on Miller Momentum. Again, because of Hank Green and other creators imploding recently over the use of LLMs, I'm introducing changes to the Miller Momentum aesthetic for a more classical minimalist feel. The way I use generative AI takes a lot of extra work, and I'm kind of over the shiny novelty of the technology. I really miss the old campy, low budget feel of the YouTube of yesteryear. So, my generative AI policy has always centered on the understanding that LLMs are next token predictors. They're pattern matchers, not thinking machines. Unfortunately, the way they've been marketed and packaged as chatbots that think and hallucinate is directly at odds with their actual capabilities and limitations. Valid use cases for LLMs, therefore, include querying large unstructured data and reorganizing existing well defined data. That's it, in my opinion, at least. So, here's how Miller Momentum currently uses generative AI and how I'm going to use it going forward. First, I use Claude to help me sniff out obscure online resources, which I then read and to help put my notes into slide decks. I also use Claude for stuff like transcribing return data from charts or accessing data feeds hidden in HTML code to get to those sweet simulated back tests, putting in the indexes and stuff. That's been extremely beneficial to my research process. It's much easier than transcribing things by hand. I do check everything, and that will continue without change. Second, I use Gemini as a cheap alternative to Photoshop to insert real photos of myself and other items into fanciful thumbnails and create brief cutaway scenes for comedic effect. I spend time writing out detailed descriptions, camera angles, and assembling visuals to produce these scenes. For example, the man and the woman from the Immortal Portfolio video are generated from character designs created for a D&D campaign way back in 2015. I'll be cutting back on some of this, but not eliminating it, and the main reason for doing this is to get content to you quicker. Because although those cutscenes add value, I think the real value here is the actual content and back testing and analysis. The rest is kind of fluff. And third, I dabbled from time to time with using Claude to help draft video scripts from my research notes. Each time, I regretted it and ended up having to pretty much rewrite the whole thing from scratch. The problem is LLMs pick up all the marketing copy that's put out about the funds that I cover. And LLMs are therefore incredibly deeply inaccurate regarding financial topics, really biased too. They don't stick to my notes, and they even argue against the facts that I've carefully collected and assembled from my research. And I'm tired of being at war with my own productivity tools. That, and as you could probably tell from recent videos, including this one, I've discovered that I enjoy speaking unscripted a lot. Anyway, that's my generative AI policy. I'm not opposed to proper use of the technology, don't misunderstand me, but I'm just so sick and tired of its quirks and all the fakery that now pervades the internet. I also resent how sometimes AI sounds a bit like me because for years I did extensive ghostwriting commissions for copy on thousands of websites as well as technical writing. It was an amazing side gig while it lasted until I got priced out by AI that sounded like a drunken, lobotomized version of me with a strange obsession with the word bespoke for some reason. Everyone seems to know that AI can't and shouldn't be used for stuff like original copywriting and editing or offloading reasoning. Again, LLMs can't even think. And yet, people keep doing it. The eye-watering velocity of enshittification is completely unsustainable, and I can't wait until it crashes and we can all move on to whatever the next craze is. Hopefully, it'll be something like Pogs or Pokemon. Thanks for watching Miller Momentum. How are you surviving all of this AI hype and, you know, parallel AI disillusionment? How are you using these tools? How are you not using them? Like and subscribe to the channel. I've got some great content coming up, and I'm going to be aiming for a more nostalgic YouTube aesthetic on this channel going forward, kind of cutting down the special effects. I just don't see that they're adding that much value. And you're here for the juicy content on investment and statistics anyway. So that's what I want to put front and center. Oh, and I forgot. I also use AI to generate the video descriptions and timestamps for each of the videos. So when you see a video first come out, the description may be blank or pretty minimal, and then suddenly it's got like 500 words. Well, that's because I use Gemini to just generate a description of the video based on the transcript of the video that is SEO optimized. I read through it, I tweak things that don't sound right, but I ain't got time to optimize those descriptions for the algorithm. I'm just going to let the algorithm do it itself. Get that clinker clinking or whatever. Anyway, I will catch you next time. I've got a lot of great content coming up. I'm hoping to pump out 3 videos this weekend. So let's see if I can do it.